All right, Jeremiah here with Liturgy of the Home. This is a quick video I wanted to make about the Greater Litanies for this third Sunday of Easter. April the 25th is that day. So I'm going to read to you here from, let's see, that's right, Dom Granger's. Dom Granger's a liturgical year. So really there's not going to be a ton to see. You could just be listening to this, but here it goes, here it goes. So we're here in Paschal time. We're talking about St. Mark's procession. So I do believe the Greater Litanies is connected to this. This day is honored in the liturgy by what is called St. Mark's procession. The term, however, is not a correct one, inasmuch as a procession was a privilege peculiar to April 25th, previously to the institution of our evangelist's feast, which even so late as the 6th century had no fixed day in the Roman Church. The real name of this procession is the Greater Litanies. The word litany means supplication, and is applied to the religious rite of singing certain chants whilst proceeding from place to place in order to propitiate heaven. Two Greek words, Kyrie eleison, Lord have mercy on us, were also called litany, as likewise were the invocations, which were afterwards added to that cry for mercy, and which now form a liturgical prayer used by the Church on certain solemn occasions. The greater litanies, or processions, are so called to distinguish them from the minor litanies on the rogation days. That is, processions of less importance as far as the solemnity and concourse of the faithful were concerned. We gather from an expression of St. Gregory the Great that it was an ancient custom in the Roman Church to celebrate once each year a greater litany at which all the clergy and people assisted. This holy pontiff chose April 25th as the fixed day for this procession and appointed the Basilica of St. Peter as the station. Several writers on the liturgy have erroneously confounded this institution with the processions prescribed by St. Gregory for times of public calamity. It existed long before his time, and all that he did was to fix it on April the 25th. It is quite independent of the feast of St. Mark, which was instituted at a much later period. If April 25th occurs during Easter week, the procession takes place on that day, unless it be Easter Sunday. But the feast of the evangelist is not kept till after the octave of Easter. The question naturally presents itself, why did St. Gregory choose April 25th for a procession and station in which everything reminds us of compunction and penance, and which would seem so out of keeping with the joyous season of Easter? The first to give a satisfactory answer to this difficulty was Canon Moretti, a learned liturgiologist of the 18th century. In a dissertation of great erudition, he proves that in the 5th and probably even the 4th century, April 25th was observed at Rome as a day of great solemnity. The faithful went on that day to the Basilica of St. Peter in order to celebrate the anniversary of the first entrance of the Prince of the Apostles into Rome, upon which he thus conferred the unalienable privilege of being the capital of Christendom. It is from that day that we count the 25 years, 2 months, and some days that St. Peter reigned as the Bishop of Rome. The Sacramentary of St. Leo gives us the Mass of this solemnity, which afterwards ceased to be kept. St. Gregory, to whom we are mainly indebted for the arrangement of the Roman liturgy, was anxious to perpetuate the memory of a day which gave to Rome her grandest glory. He therefore ordained that the Church of St. Peter should be the station of the Great Litany, which was always to be celebrated on that auspicious day. April 25th comes so frequently during the octave of Easter that it could not be kept as a feast, properly so called, in honor of St. Peter's entrance into Rome. St. Gregory therefore adopted the only means left of commemorating the great event. But there was a striking contrast resulting from this institution, of which the Holy Pontiff was fully aware, but which he could not avoid. There was the contrast between the joys of Paschal time and the penitential sentiments wherewith the faithful should assist at the procession and station of a great litany. Laden as we are with the manifold graces of this holy season, and elated with our Paschal joys, we must sober our gladness by reflecting on the motives which led the Church to cast this hour of shadow over our Easter sunshine. After all, we are sinners, with much to regret and much to fear. We have to avert those scourges which are due to the crimes of mankind. We have, by humbling ourselves and invoking the intercession of the Mother of God and the saints, to obtain the health of our bodies, the preservation of the fruits of the earth. We have to offer atonement to divine justice for our own and the world's pride, sinful indulgences, and insubordination. let us enter into ourselves and humbly confess that our own share in exciting God's indignation is great, and our poor prayers, united with those of our Holy Mother Church, will obtain mercy for the guilty and for ourselves who are of the number. A day then like this of reparation to God's offended majesty would naturally suggest the necessity of joining some exterior penance to the interior dispositions of contrition which filled the hearts of Christians. Abstinence from flesh meat has always been observed on this day at Rome, and when the Roman liturgy was established in France by Pepin and Charlemagne, the Great Litany of April 25 was, of course, celebrated, and abstinence kept by the faithful of that country. A council of Aix-la-Chapelle in 836 enjoined the additional obligation of resting from servile work on this day. The same enactment is found in the Capitularia of Charles the Bald. As regards fasting, properly so called, being contrary to the spirit of Paschal time, it would seem never to have been observed on this day, at least not generally. Amalarius, who lived in the 9th century, asserts that it was not then practiced even in Rome. So a little bit about the Greater Litany, and truly there really is a lot to consider, especially in our day, especially with what the church is facing and what we're all facing.